cat in the wall, eh? Okay, now you're talking my language.
Do you ever drunk Baileys from a shoe?
Oh, great. Thanks, Mother, for replacing the baby aspirin with LSD.
Welcome in to a very happy view from C-Deck. We can't believe it. Well, I can't believe it. Jason could, though. He had us winning. I wasn't shocked, but Buckeyes win. Huge game. Dominate pretty much most of the game against Penn State. Once we got a little bit of luck on our big fumble that was returned for a touchdown that was to not be due to a holding call, a legit holding call.
Yeah.
But the Buckeyes able to pull it out 20-12. Should have been worse, to be honest. But we got a little. We'll talk about some more weird decisions by both teams and Franklining and daying a little bit. But Overall, you had to be happy. And Jason, you were there in the shoe. How was it feeling on Saturday afternoon?
Typical. Honestly, there wasn't a lot of nervous energy. I felt like most people were pretty confident going in. Sitting around us talking to everybody. It was just a lot of questions were, how is the offense going to be faring? But it was crazy. That was an electric atmosphere to start the game. That was the crowd really helped. And then when the offense finally got things in gear and we kind of took over, it was just an avalanche effect. And of course, we played Zombie Nation at the end and F you Penn State. It was a great atmosphere. Best home game of the year. So I'm glad we got to turn out for it.
Oh yeah. Great turnout. The crowd sounded loud. You have to give them reason to be loud too. And I know that you said there was a law, but once we got going on defense, really in the second half, started to make some big plays and get some big plays out of Marv. But I guess we started on the offensive side of the ball. I guess defense. Now defense won the game, so we'll talk about them first. Coming in, Penn State's got the number one defense in the country. That's what everybody's talking about, and what I thought would be our downfall, to be honest, offensively. But our defense came in and played their freaking butts off. But also Drew Aller was really bad. 18 for 42 for 191. That doesn't even begin to describe how bad he was, actually, though. Because he was like 10 for 36 before his last drive, or something like that. Or 10 for 32 at one point.
Yeah.
They were in his head. He was in his own head. The reason he still didn't throw a pick, but the reason he doesn't throw picks is he doesn't throw it towards anybody.
No, it was 10 yards wide, left, up. He was all over the place. You definitely saw the youngness come out of him.
Oh yeah, the jitters. That's also, I think, a little bit. We both picked Penn State to make the playoffs to start the year, and a big reason I did is because I thought Aller was such an improvement over the quarterbacks they've had. Like I thought he was the missing piece of what they've had. But I think this goes to show. I mean, they had Hackenberg in the past too. Their quarterback development just isn't where it should be.
No,
these guys should be better. I mean, redshirt freshmen win Heisman's. C.J. Stroud is so much better as a redshirt freshman, which this the second-year guy, same as Aller, that he shouldn't look like this. But they never even let him cut loose in other games. So when it was time to cut loose against us, which you have to do, you couldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about like how bad he was on the road, like 55% completion rate on the road. So a little bit goes to show there. Maybe it's just the play calling changes because, I was looking at the Penn State boards and really that it was the coaching because both quarterbacks had not very little time to pass. These defensive lines controlled the game. They were getting pressure left and right on us. We were getting pressure left and right on him. So it's made it uncomfortable. Their receivers aren't great, didn't get separation, but the play calling for them, I mean, from an Ohio State fan, looked bad. And when another team play calling, when we're saying your play calling looked bad, it has to be pretty atrocious. And that's just the James Franklin, Mandy Diaz type showing out why they're regarded as just until they beat these good teams, they will always be just average coaches. And that really did not. When you have a young quarterback in there, you got to get some rhythm. And they didn't. Their run game was working at times for them, and then it seemed like they'd go away from it. And but hats off to our defense.
Mike Yurkich is not Manny Diaz coaching their offense. Former Ohio State coach Mike Yurkich.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just their running game's been like that. Looked basically like that all year. They have some decent runs every now and then, but they're just right there around their average for carries. Katron Allen was held way more in check than I thought he'd be. Singleton was too, except for the 120-yard run he had like right off the bat when he got in the game.
Yeah.
The RD just shut them down. They played their butts off, and they made huge plays down the stretch when they needed to. JT only had one tackle, but it was a huge one. The sack that he had to blow up one of their drives when they were coming to try and tie it near the end of the game.
Yep.
they make them force them out on downs twice near the end of the game, even though Franklin had no business going for that first one when they're only down 7 and their defense is playing well the whole game. Like, oh, these coaches just drive me nuts. But we'll talk about that more later when we get to today.
Yeah, from the defensive side though, it felt like every player had a big moment. Every player made a key play. Eichenberg, Sonny Styles was. These Browns and the Browns and the Buckeyes are very similar. And once why I brought it up was Sonny Styles and Uso Cormore, these speedy guys that come up from the back, and then Sonny Styles just cuts plays off before they even develop. And he's going to be a difference maker. Once he keeps developing, and next year it's going to be a beast. But I mean, JTT, the defensive line stepping up, and Proctor even, he's healthy. So it's really, really good to see this defense, and they're all experienced and they're showing up.
Yeah, and the freshman Jermaine Matthews comes in, gets a PBU, looks good.
Yeah.
Without Burke playing, so that's what's even scarier. Our number one corner's out. I mean, this is a good team to play without your number one corner, but still, number one corner's out, and you shut them down still. Linebackers probably have their best game of the year. They had some issues early on, but they got it straightened out. Both of them have our 2 leading tacklers. You're right, though. Sonny Styles was a difference maker. It doesn't always show up in the box score, and it didn't really even this game. Only had 4 tackles, and the sack was a big play. But he was cutting off, like you said, off runs all the time. They could not get to the outside because of him flying up there to force them back inside and back into the teeth of our defense.
And talking about Penn State's defense a little bit, they did the exact same thing. We couldn't get the edge there. And I didn't mind our play calling. We'll get to our offense, but their defense had just as much speed as I've seen out of our defense, and they were able to cut our. We couldn't get the edge, and it was just an outstandingly good coach team on both sides of the ball on defense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then they're athletic as hell on defense. And when they knew, the only thing I'd say about us was kind of what we always see. You can't, it was a decent mix by day calling. And if McCord wasn't so off, especially in the first half, it looks really good then probably. But there were guys open that he just missed. And, we struggled to run the ball, though, massively again, switching over to the offense. You told me this earlier, but we'll go to it. Our running backs, not a soul on this team, averaged over 2.6 yards per carry. Not a soul. Mayan was easily the most effective, and it was really early on, and then they kind of adjusted to what they like to run with Mayan in the game. Yep. He had just 24 carries for only 62 yards. Chip, totally ineffective, which is why Mayan goes in over him. 9 carries for 22 yards. Even Devin Brown coming in, and before he probably broke his ankle or whatever he did, 2 carries for 5 yards. Avery Johnson, 2 carries for 4 yards. McCord sacked twice, didn't really run the ball. That's just not cutting it. And you have a guy that we've seen be effective every time. Who was the crowd asking for, Jason?
Numerous guys. It was all guys. Credit, maybe some beers were in their system, but everybody was chanting for Dallin Hayden. Why they said that the top two guys were Mayan Williams, even though Mayan seemed like he was the 3rd and 4th string running back for most of the year. Then all of a sudden he gets elevated to RB1, and he said those are the 2 guys were wrong. Well, it was clearly wrong. I'm not taking much away from the offense because that was a good defense. That was a good defensive front. I'm not putting much on the running backs. There's more in the offensive line. There wasn't much room to run out there. They tried changing it up. Run up the middle, run outside, nothing was there. We had no speed outside, nothing in the middle to open up. It was just a hard-fought game, and it's if anything, the offensive line was the issue there.
Yeah, but the passing game. So we'll talk about the good first. The best player in the country brought out the big dong on Saturday. They couldn't guard Marvin Harrison Jr. They couldn't stay with him. He made crazy catches when he had to, and he had one drop, and they were, which I don't know if he's in the stadium, you probably didn't know this, but they were killing him for a drop that was a low throw on his knees on that crossing or an out route early in the game.
I thought you were going to talk about the wide receiver screen that was through to him before he was even looking.
Yeah, no, not that one. There was one that it probably didn't even look like a bad drop to you. It looked like a bad throw.
No, it did. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, he ran over. What I was thinking when I watched that live was he was probably thinking he's going to get his head taken off. I'd be worried about that more than anything. It was a low throw. I'm not asking you to make that catch any time of the year.
He doesn't need to. That's what they say in basketball. When you throw at your center's knees, don't expect him to be able to catch that ball. You got to throw it to him where you can catch it, especially when he's running across the field. But Marvin's just such a beast. 11 catches for 162 yards. He's 44% of our offense, I believe, was through him. And I'll give Casey credit for this. Direwolf, who's not on this week, got some family sickness going on. He said the difference would be that we have the best player, and he was right. That was the difference. We had Marvin Harrison Jr. who could just bail out our bad quarterback play, and they didn't have anybody that could bail out their bad quarterback play, and
I mean,
or that they could just go to.
Yeah, a majority of our first downs were generated. I think like over half or something were generated by Marvin Harrison. And when they told Ryan Day that after the game, he was like, I did not know that. That's crazy. Like, that's one of the first times he's been blown away by a stat. Like, when we needed a first down, just like last year, he tore up Penn State. Same thing. When we needed a first down, he got it. I mean, he's the best player in the country, and we needed him. And we also were probably missing Ibuka a little bit. And he didn't even need him. He didn't need the pressure taken off of him. What Ibuka probably could have helped was we could have let Marvin go deep a little bit more. We needed Marvin over the middle, and so Ibuka, we were kind of missing that aspect of it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Ibuka missing and Travion missing is huge for this offense. Like, that makes it more impressive. We're playing a really good defense without our number one running back and number two receiver, both of whom could be first-round picks. I mean, Travion's sitting his way out of a first-round pick now. I don't know what's wrong with him, but whatever. But, yeah, except, I mean, all of our scoring drives, he's huge. Marvin's huge on it. I mean, the biggest one being maybe not like he set up with big catches and obviously the touchdown catch at the end. But the holding call that he drew on Kyle McCord's fumble was easily the play of the game. Because if not, we're down 10-3 and we're really starting to look like maybe look around. It's a huge momentum thing. Football's a game of momentum. That was just massive. So that will bring us to Kyle McCord. So what did you see in the stadium from McCord that we maybe didn't see? You know, watching him just struggle in the first half. Basically, when he wasn't throwing to Marvin, he was struggling.
From what I saw right away was his timing was better than what it had been. He was, especially to Marvin, I mean, mostly, it looked like he wasn't holding the ball as long. Mainly, he was throwing quick routes, quick out routes, quick slants over the middle, so he wasn't having to wait for the deep ball. There wasn't much pressure, or there wasn't much time to throw the ball because of all the pressure. I didn't think he was that bad compared to where he had been in previous weeks, because I thought there wasn't much room to operate on the outside. Our receivers weren't getting much separation. Tate and Fleming were just, they were there. They were bodies at times. And when people were open, it felt like to me he hit them. Stover and Marvin, he hit them. He did what he needed to do to move the chains and get our offense kind of in sync. I mean, I'm not mad at McCord. I haven't really been mad at him for a while, because when the running game can't take the pressure off of a young quarterback, you can't ask him to win you games and be a Heisman type player every week. And so I thought he was fine. I didn't really have any beef with the offense, outside of maybe the offensive line.
So I mean, my beefs were hit with him where he definitely was missing open guys in the first. There's like he started off 5 for 5, then he missed his next 7 throws, and there were like 4 or 5 errant throws. The one to Tate and one to Marvin where he was wide open.
Yeah.
Another one that was to Marvin that could have been the one I talked about earlier, could have been caught, but it was like at his knees on a crossing route. And then the one to Tate had the post wide open. If he throws it to the inside shoulder, he throws it a little more than to the outside shoulder than even I'd call the outside shoulder, and it brings him around. It's incomplete. And then the pocket presence, which is something we've talked about all year with him, it's just not there. And the fumble was a really bad play by him. Like, he should have had that tucked away at that point.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, that was bad.
Oh, even the one where he almost threw a pick on a post. I think it was not to Stover, but it might have been to Marv. He double pumped though for no reason on it, and then still threw it though. Like, he did it, and then he didn't want to throw it, and then he went ahead and threw it anyway, and then he's late at that point. That's the kind of stuff you don't want to see. But luckily, we're at home, and the defense is playing so well that the pressure's never really on him.
Yeah.
So it's okay. But we've seen him come through in pressure situations against Notre Dame, so I'm not that worried about it. But I feel like he gets a little overhyped, is what it looks like sometimes, and the ball starts flying on him a little bit.
I mean, his pocket presence is definitely shaky at best. That's what CJ was probably one of his best attributes, was just moving and flowing in the pocket. But I'm not a quarterback. I'm not a quarterback's coach. I wonder what if you're putting yourself in McCord's shoes, you're playing in front of this porous offensive line. You've got to be, thinking you're in a passing situation. The rushing. I would be kind of jittery. You can't really always be comfortable and relaxed back there when you're not comfortable and the guy's protecting you. So I think some of his problems there are probably due to the offensive line not having a running game. It's just gonna see how this plays out in these. After Wisconsin, we basically have 3 weeks of byes up until Michigan. So it'll be interesting to see if he can maybe get some comfortability back there before he plays Michigan.
Yeah. All right. But overall, offense does move the ball very well considering the competition. Just doesn't get quite the points they probably should have. But 20-12 under hits and the cover hits for Ohio State. I missed that, but I hit the under easily. I think all of us had the under on that one. But you and Direwolf were right about the Buckeyes winning. Now,
No, I had a high scoring affair.
you
Not
did.
right about that.
Oh, yes, you do not have the under. Yeah, that's right. However, let's talk about some of the coaching decisions by both teams that were boneheaded, starting with us, actually. Like, Franklin didn't do anything too crazy till near the end of the game.
Yeah.
But we're up 10-6 late in the third quarter, put together a nice drive, starting at 5 minutes, 30 seconds left in the third quarter. You know, we dice them up through the air mainly. Obviously, the run's not working, but hit Marvin for a big gain, hit Julian Fleming for a pretty nice catch, and then a 30-yarder to Cade gets us down inside the 10. After two plays with Devin Brown in the game to help with the run, we get to third and goal. We use a freaking – okay, we get third and goal. We put in the jumbo package with Mayan, which hasn't been working since the first touchdown or we scored for that drive. He gets freaking stuffed. And then we have to use a timeout before we go to fourth down. And at that point, I mean, he gets stuffed to the 3. And I immediately say, like, I'm talking with Casey, actually. I'm texting him. And I say, before, he's like, do we go for it on 4th and 1? I'm like, I wouldn't, but he will. But then when he got to 4th and 3, I was like, oh, you absolutely kick this now. And then he comes out, he still runs a play. And what does they do if they fail on 3rd and 1 when they're running? He passes it every time. Of course, they're looking for it, and we just get stuffed on a wide receiver, like, screen, arrow type scrape play. Yeah. It didn't work, though.
There was numerous times in this game up until that point where the receivers weren't blocking very well. I mean, they were coming at it. They were coming up. The cornerbacks and safeties were playing the edge. They did not block very well. So I was questioning that wide receiver screen all day. But you know it's a bad call. A lot of fans these days want the team to go for it on 4th down. I know it's a bad call when I always take the points. Everybody's around me saying, take the points.
It's 10-6. It's 10-6 in the third quarter. There's not points being scored. Take them. You got 7.
I get it. Oh, man, you're going to make him go 97 yards. But even if they get 20 yards or 30 yards and they punt, then it's back to neutral. Then you just lost everything. So it's like I don't see you gaining anything from this.
No, you take the points. And then what happens after that? We do get the 3 and out, and then we have a bad special teams play. Thanks again, Parker Fleming, not training your guys to get away when there's when a fire call happens, hits one of our guys blocking. And then we lose all the advantage lost at that point. And and they have the ball only down 4 at our 50. And you're like, they have a chance to take the lead, like an easy chance to take the lead now. And luckily our defense, that's when JT makes the big sack or whatever and bails his ass out. But yeah, it's just, once again, what are these coaches doing? Giving up points in low scoring, big games. Every point matters. And then we end up kicking another field goal to go up 7, like our next possession that we actually have the ball. And we could be up 10 at that point. And then the game's pretty much over with how this is going.
Yeah. Well, the only plus side is, well, not plus side. We saw that our kicker doesn't have a great leg. His max is maybe 44. I mean, inside of 45, I'd maybe give him a shot.
He's got the leg, but the accuracy leaves much to be desired.
Yeah, so I'm not, if it comes down to a field goal like it did last year with Georgia, I'm not going to have much confidence in it. But did you question when they scored that touchdown at the end? Am I the only one that wondered why they went for 2?
No, I had no idea what he was doing.
I mean, yes, if you get it, then if you score again, you could go for the win. But you need to get an onside kick and score another touch. I didn't quite understand that. Maybe he's just saying, we're not going to get it. I'm just going to try to work on our 2-point play.
Jason, you can do it then.
Yeah,
you can go for 2 the second time.
I agree. I don't know what they like. That was like I'm like yelling. I'm like, what is he doing? I'm like, is he trying to like just give it away? Like, and the people are like, well, he's going for the win. I'm like, no, he's not. I'm like, he's. Yeah, I was like, well, maybe he wants to like kick a quick field goal and then try to recover another onside kick and then kick another field goal and tie the game. Like, I don't know. But that isn't even the worst Franklin of it. So Franklin, he's known for these boneheaded decisions in games and his team not being the best X and O type team. Like, he's a good motivator, recruiter, but they don't out scheme people. So when we go up 7, they have another what appears to be a 3 and out. They have to have a pretty nice return by Singleton, gets them up there to the 40. So they get to 4th and 4 at the 43, only down 7. 7.5 minutes to go. Plenty of time to get the ball back. Your defense has been playing really good. Ohio State can't run the ball, so it's risky for them to like
even try to really run out the clock with the passes. And they go for it on 4th and 4 at their own 43, which they, of course, don't complete. Sets us up with all the momentum's on our side, and we get up and march down for an easy touchdown drive. With Marv taking it on the. I mean, it was a 3rd and 11 on the touchdown, but it was just a simple crossing route that was blocked perfectly and executed perfectly on the rub. But like, what? Why do coaches keep doing this, Jason? Like, why do they put themselves and their teams in these situations?
So I mean, I'm trying to. Oh yeah. The only thing I could think is you're thinking, okay, we're almost at midfield. Nothing's working at this point. To me, I punt the ball. You punt the ball, you pin the ball deep. You try to say, okay, maybe we play the field position, we get the ball right back here, basically, or maybe at the 35. Maybe he's thinking, just, you know what? I've got nothing's working at this point. We might as well. I'm not giving him, but that's the only thing I'm trying to put my mind in the head of. I don't get it, but that's the only reason why I could see is just saying, F it. Nothing's working. We need all 4 plays. Maybe he's saying we need all 4 plays to get a first down. I don't know.
Yeah. It's just funny because the analytics, what people try to point to, and they're like, oh no, it actually is good to go for these. I'm like, one, there's 2 components to that are not accurate. One, analytics include everything is usually what you're talking about. Every team doing every try, not Ohio State versus Penn State in this situation in the 4th quarter that you have that average of making it. You don't. And besides, so it's really like the analytics don't even matter, to be honest with you, like if whatever you're going for. Because the expected points or expected yards gained depend on the opponent and how you're playing and what you're doing. If you're playing like crap, 4th and 4, what do you think the odds are? 1 in 8 of completing that pass, like with how poorly they were playing. But the analytics probably say it's like a 40% chance, but there's no way there's a 40% chance in that game. And then, there's analytics and what I guess I'd call manalytics, where the psychological toll it takes on your team when you fail on these. And then, not only does it hurt them in the game and take the wind out of their sails, but, later on, they might just start straight up questioning you for doing these type of things all the time. And now the dude's 1-9 against Ohio State. How can they possibly still be behind him? I don't know.
Yeah. Especially when he flies into a helicopter at the Olatanji game to get their quarterback that's coming from Olatanji next year. You saw that?
Yeah.
He's all over the place. He kind of reminds me of PJ Fleck from Minnesota, kind of hype guy, not very much there when the game matters. If I was on that roster, I'd be same like with Oregon. Like, I like aggression in certain times of the game, but when we're down by 7, your defense is carrying you, and the defense comes out in the field saying, "Our offense ain't doing jack shit. Why do we have to put up with this shit? You just put us on our side of the field. You could have put them down there 10-yard line, and then we would have been ears pinned back. We're going after McCord. Now we're like, no, he lost the team probably at that point. You saw that.
Yeah, I've been in a situation like that against a good team. We ran a fake punt when I was in high school against the top 10 team in the country. We're winning in the 4th quarter. We run a fake punt, and it gets stuffed on our own 28-yard line, and it's just like, what are we doing now? Defeated.
Yeah.
But all in all, though, good win for Ohio State. No matter what James Franklin did, huge win. Now the pressure's on to win them all, because now that's the Michigan game's all that matters, to be honest. Although this week, though, presents a different test, and we'll try to be this quick about this one. We traveled for a night game on Halloween weekend to Madison, Wisconsin. Bad memories abound in this series with that. Obviously, 2010 is what comes to mind immediately, and the number 1 team in the country, Ohio State, losing. But we've owned them since that game. Haven't beat us once, and we've had a lot of close calls there, though. I think it'll be a tough game. We're 14-point favorites, over under 44. Wisconsin didn't want to switch quarterbacks, had to due to injury. And they got down 21-7 and then staged a monster comeback in the 4th quarter against Illinois last week behind Braden Locke. Different offense, but they still have the big boy Allen in the middle. The letdown game is what I'm worried about, though. And Wisconsin playing well at the end. They probably have some momentum coming in. What do you think happens in Madison?
They don't have a passing offense, even with this new quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
our rushing defense is the strength of really this entire team. We've seen the Wisconsin come into these games against us, and we're usually able to neutralize their running backs. You go pretty, Melvin Gordon, Jonathan Taylor, like usually we neutralize them pretty effectively, especially like the Big Ten championship games. I'm not worried about it because they don't have really any weapons in there. Their leading receiver has like 300 yards, I think, through the air. I'm not worried about this game. I mean, Fickle, maybe the team tries to play it for him, being from Ohio State. Night game, I've been there. It's a pretty entertaining crowd, pretty raucous. It might be a little shaky start, first, second quarter, little jitters getting out of the way. But if your day, this is a pretty clear message, guys. This is the last hurdle really until Michigan. Rutgers, I'm not really worried about them, but like, just get hyped for this game. Then we get a month off basically until Michigan. So I'm not really worried about it. I think we covered that spread.
I don't know if we covered, but if I am I'm trying to treat this like a playoff scenario. 2 straight weeks where you got to be on your A game.
Yes.
I want to see the A game. I mean, like, obviously it's a huge, and it wasn't the most physical game we ever played there against Penn State. Like, there were big hits and obviously, but it wasn't like it wasn't like the Notre Dame game felt more like, a war that we were in, especially on the D-line. So I think if the D-line can hold up against Braden Allen, we're going to hold them. I mean, nobody scored over 17 yet. I don't see why that happens this week against this offense.
Yeah. Penn State, the reason why I'm not worried about it is because Penn State didn't run many plays. So the defense wasn't on the field. We controlled possession. Like Penn State did a lot of 3 and outs. They didn't have a third down conversion until the end of the game. They're 0-16 up until the last point of the game. I was at the stadium like, wait, I don't think they've got a third down. I checked my phone in the third quarter. I'm like, holy crap. And I wasn't jinxing it in the game. I did not want to talk about it. I'm like, and then they got the one at the end. I'm like, okay, whatever. They got one. That one doesn't count. They didn't get a third down. So the defense didn't have to play very much. They weren't bruising themselves up. So they're pretty well rested in my eyes for this game. 68
plays, which is probably a little bit above average for Penn State, but 42 of them were passes. So it wasn't the physical game. Like, yeah. And we rotated, actually. Kenyatta Jackson got in. Yeah, well, how did we leave out that stat, though? 1 for 16 on third down for Penn State. Really, like you said, it was really like 0 for 15.
Yeah.
And that it's just unbelievable. And like, if we whole team, and we did that to Purdue, was 3 for 17. That was the bugaboo earlier in the year for the defense, was they couldn't get off on third down. They were giving up about 50% through the first 4 games. Not anymore, though, boys. Like right now, they are the silver bullets. They are getting off on third down. They are dominating teams.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be a big game. But that's the thing, though. We've seen worse Wisconsin teams play better, maybe not better Ohio State teams anymore. This defense is legit, like you said. And they give us all sorts of trouble up there. We've had a couple of overtime games. Urban had an overtime game in 2016 there. I think in 2012 or 13, there was a night game where we score at like the last minute, or stuff Monty Ball, I believe, was there. Stuff him at the goal line at the last minute to preserve a 7-point win. Yeah. Like, I don't expect it to be easy. That's why the 14 seems like a lot. But the over-under, I think it is going to be an under there. 44 seems too high with how good our defense is and some of the problems they have.
Their defense is mid this year. I think they're somewhere like 50 range or 60 range on their total defense.
Mm.
I think we should be able to have success. And if maybe we get Ibuka back, he was doubtful, but maybe he's closer. Travion maybe. So yeah. I'm not too worried about. I'm not really too worried about their defense holding up against our offense. I think our offense should have success.
Yeah, the offense could have had more success. Like I said, it could have been even better, and that was against a really good defense last week. So yeah, they should get 400 yards and close to 30 points, I would think. Yeah. But so, as I always ask on these podcasts, real quick though. So I'll take Wisconsin and the 14.5 at the moment, but the under. And you're taking the Buckeyes to cover. Are you taking the under?
Yeah, I'm taking the under. Yeah, I think you're right about like 30. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe they score 10, 13.
Yeah, 30
maybe
to 10,
if they have a decent kicker, maybe they get like 13. So yeah, I'm not worried about it. I think we cover pretty easily.
I'll say 24 to 10. That half point's what doesn't do it, just because we it's just tough there at night to.
Oh yeah, it's totally
something always goes wrong. Feels like. Yeah. Like I asked on the end of all these podcasts, I think I know the answer this week for sure. But you said it last week. When you put us in the playoff, does this give you your hopes up high in the sky now for a national championship for Ohio State?
Yeah, I'm riding high. I think there's 3 dominant teams in this country. Not dominant. I'd say there's 3 teams above the rest right now, and that's Georgia, Michigan, and Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really. No.
15 to 7 against Arizona State.
No. No, get them out of there. And their schedule, they're going to beat each other up. I'm not going to get into this whole thing, but the rest of this country, there's good teams that can beat anybody on any given day. But I think the most consistent teams are the ones with the best defenses, and the 3 best defenses are Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State. So I like us. I'm riding high. I think we get into the playoffs right now because I think the Michigan game is going to be one hell of a fight that can go really either way. It could be a coin flip in my eyes. So I'm riding high right now. I'm feeling pretty good.
I think weather will be big there. If we play another rainstorm or something, advantage Michigan. But I'm with you. Other than that, this defense is. I'll take them against anybody. I really will. They're talented all over the board. There is no weakness that I feel like is like really there. The linebackers, as long as linebackers play like they did in this game. But Michigan's a different type of test. Like they're not like anything we've seen all year. Besides maybe Notre Dame, and they held up against Notre Dame, but Notre Dame could have scored more against us. I think they left some points on the board. But I have to be more confident. Like you have to be. The defense is just too good. And really now the pressure's back on Day all the way about winning this damn game.
I don't know why I didn't look at it more going into the season, why I thought our defense might still suck. We are pretty experienced all across the board other than the offensive line. And so you go back to C.J. Stroud losing both times to Michigan. I'm kind of giving him a pass more and more because of everybody else around him was pretty young. And you've got like everybody around him, even the juniors have played their whole time, like Marvin and Ibuka have played the whole time. JTT Sawyer got a lot of playing time as freshmen. There's experience all around. If they don't get it done this time against Michigan, it would be their class that would be the one that didn't get it done. And you had like all the motivation is there. Back-to-back losses, getting spanked last year. You have to be, if you're Ryan Day, you've got everything going for you. You've got these big win now. You've got an easy schedule the rest of the way pretty much. It's leading up to you having everything right there. Now it's the pressure's on Day, like you said. You've got everything going towards you. That's the game. This is the game of the year. Oh
yeah, and it's gonna be maybe number 1 versus number 2 at this point. Like who knows? I can see Georgia tripping without Brock Bowers, and it's gonna be too. I just hope we can pull it off. Whatever we have to do. I do feel like this team has though that Tressel magic where like they just find ways to win. Whatever it is, they're gonna find a way. And if McCord can actually like get himself on that even keel, we jump out early on them because they're not a fast starting team except for this weekend because Michigan State's freaking trash. We can do it. We can do it. All right, that'll do it though for this episode. Went a little long, but that's okay because a lot to talk about when we whoop on the number 7 team in the country at home and send James Franklin back to being an idiot somewhere else. But for the Hoss, I'm just Matt. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, and we'll see you guys next time.
Hey guys! Whoa, big gulps, huh? All right. Well, see you later.
A rich man's world.